All right, so real quickly, I just want to say this video was filmed like 9 months ago, so it's been a long time. But that being said, it is a banger of a video. I just got done editing it. The only thing that I need to add in is the intro and the outro because I didn't do that back then. But anyway, this is it. I hope you guys enjoy it. It's actually a really good video. So with that being said, this is a revival and resurrection of my old Yamaha RT100. Yeah, let's get into the video. Welcome back to the Antique Geek Garage. Welcome back. We have a, blowed up engine, I think. It's just, this has been the most unreliable engine I've ever seen in my life. This is a 1997 RT100. Yamaha has been a really good favorite brand of mine till I had to deal with this thing. Then they just, shot down there on the list. But I don't really care what I buy as long as it's cheap. So, she locked up, I believe. She used to have like no compression and is now like stiff, but I think something's locked up in the bottom end. This thing has always had transmission problems. It's never shifting right. And I think something down there went south and the engine itself is fine. That's my guess. I'm gonna tear it down now and we're gonna find out. But the moisture, oh my gosh, it rained and the garage door did not seal, and the entire floor is covered in water. And this thing is covered in moisture and stuff, and that's a big no. So we gotta get this engine torn apart now and figure it out, and hopefully we can just get it figured out, put back together. And this is gonna be a huge dive in, We're going all in. We're done messing with it. It's gonna be down to just about nothing. But, I mean, we'll give her a shot, so let's just dig right in. Alright, so we're going to kind of start on the top end. So I just took the head off, and I believe that's where it got left off at. This engine has almost zero compression, so I'm surprised it's locked up, honestly. There we go. So yeah, like I said, this engine has like no compression. It's wore down to nothing. We've invested about $80 into keeping this thing alive. And the bike frame, everything's wrong there. The plastics are completely trashed. They've been painted like 5 colors, and the back rim has spokes bent, so it wobbles. So it's just the budget beat me to death bike, and I think we just did that, unfortunately. But I mean, if we can save it, I'll do that. And it might be possible, I must say. And it is a little bit of moisture in there though that I do not like. So yeah, that's gonna be fun. I'm gonna grab the mallet and some PB Blaster. So my poison of choice is some WD-40, just to keep, water out of here, because this does not like water. So we'll see. Yeah, that's not locked up. And I think our bottom gasket survived. Well, no, it ripped at the top. I take that back. I'll make it survive though. Something has to be locked up in the bottom end. We can make this work, I bet. Definitely some wear. It looks bad. Yep. This is gonna be fun. Alright. Let's snip over here and we'll take this side off first. Let's do this. But she just locked up. And she was stuck too. Because I had it drug home on the 4-wheeler. We were all riding when this happened, so I rode it while I was being drugged by the 4-wheeler and put it in gear while on the road, and it just slid that tire like nothing. Okay. Really simple engines though. Little 100cc 2-strokes from 97. One of the best engine you can learn how to do engine maintenance on, that's for sure. So as you can see, we got a little bit. This is kind of worrying with the crankshaft behaving as it is. I have taken this cover off this transmission so many times, it's not even funny. And of course, we got lots of oil in it. Why wouldn't we? Well, we're going to start by just one step at a time. So I'm going to take off our clutch. And I don't know if this is necessarily a flywheel, but it's part of our clutch basket. I'm just going to pull this whole assembly off, and that'll leave our crankshaft spinning free of the transmission. And if our crankshaft spins freely, then we know it's something in the transmission. And if it doesn't, then we know there's something wrong with our crankshaft, which is not good at all. Not that any of this is relatively good, I guess, but let me just wipe this and we'll dig in. Also, that is not supposed to be like that. That is retapped with a brass screw. So don't follow that. Just ignore that. Well, here's the fun stuff. This plate should now just slip off. There we go. So, then you gotta take off all your friction plates, or clutch plates, whatever you want to call them. They have all been replaced kind of recently. Like I said, this bike is always so broken that these pretty much get no use. So these might have 5 hours, maybe more. Very unlikely. Can't forget this little dial rod piece. This, whenever you push your clutch in, there's a little bead behind here. This pushes your plate out to let all your discs separate. It's centrifugal force. And do not forget, there will be a ball in here. It should be a steel ball. There's a BB in here. I know that because I put it there. Because we didn't have that steel ball. So it's a BB. Do not do that. It's copper. It'll probably, you know, crush and mold itself into a bad shape. But it has worked for a while. So I would not advise it. But if you are in a pinch or you have a bike that is kind of has the purpose of this one to die, that works. It actually worked out. So that's one thing to consider. Like, finding that ball is half impossible too. So don't lose it. Or else you're going to be ordering and waiting months for it to never arrive. Now you take them all back off. Oh boy, there we go. There comes everything. Please do not slide off yet. I do not want everything off yet. Oh my gosh. This comes off, and this, and that should be all. So the fact that transmission is spinning is not good at all. No. That's very good. That also means that pretty much every single thing now has to come off. I think our crankshaft has left the chat. So this is gonna be fun. So that's fun. Let's say remove one of them without a tool. You just hit it really hard. And then, well, maybe. There you go. Look at all this funness. Okay, so that's good. We're just gonna pull this assembly off as one. I believe I can do that. I'm not certain though. See how. Alright, that wasn't too bad. Now we gotta separate this side of the engine off. So that's awesome. Progress continues. It just wraps around and gets caught back on itself again. Just something to keep tension on it. So I'm tearing this apart, and I just noticed something. That ain't supposed to be like that at all. There's a chunk of our piston gone. And I'm like, well, it's obviously around here somewhere. And I believe it's right there. And if that's the chunk, that could be caught in our crankshaft and could be the entire reason this thing isn't running. So I need to dig that out real quick. I can't believe I didn't notice that until right now. That is depressing. Well, it's apart. Took a while, but it's finally done, and we got lots of fun stuff to deal with, including this entire transmission that's about to fall apart as we speak. So hopefully that stays in for the most part, because I'm only worried about the crankshaft, which, if I turn the engine, basically there is metal in here somewhere. That is what I'm seeing. And I'm gonna pull our piston off, and then I'll show you the actual how bad this piston is. So I'm actually very, very, very surprised that I don't see a giant metal chunk in here, but I also can't really get it off. That wrist pin just deleted itself. Oh, what's falling? Oh, we got springs and stuff just flying. Might as well just take all this out now. We'll have fun finding out where all this goes later. Transmission stuff, man. Gotta love it. No, actually we don't. It sucks. But since we're this far into the block, I mean, we just might as well take everything out. And then we just have to get a diagram and put her all back. What are you caught on? There it goes. It now spins freely. The only issue is our piston's obliterated and we have a compression ring that's gone. There we go. So, this bearing looks okay. That pin is really stuck in there. That is not moving too hot. Or was moving too hot, rather. So, that ain't supposed to be like that. You know, something missing. So they aren't cracked, but that looks like a very rigid edge. So I'm wondering if that was an issue. Of course, this thing is all covered in carbon buildup and whatnot. She's in rough shape. But that is not normal wear at all. That's very bad. And then, of course, you know, just some scarring. This needs cleaned. Like, everything is so covered in grease and oil for obvious reasons. But at the end of the day, this is now spinning freely. And that's what we need. Oh, and here's everything. That's the entire Yamaha RT100. And it honestly only took maybe an hour to do all of that. So it's not that bad. So don't worry, if you're worried about doing this yourself, you'll be fine. It's not that bad. And then it just has to go back together in the new piston. So I'll snip you back when I get everything cleaned. Alright. So it's been a little while. Like a day, 2 days, I don't know. But I'm back. I got the entire transmission put back together. I didn't record it because I had to figure it out. It did take me a little bit, but it wasn't horrible. I was just about ready to put this crankshaft bolt back on and had to go back inside. Let me pick up the camera. So as you can see, the dirt bike itself is back in here. I did wash it so that there's not so much mud on it. And we narrowed down our parts pile a good bit. So a little bit more. Hopefully almost everything here can go on tonight. And then I'll get it ready so that all I need to do is wait for the gasket, the piston, the spark plug, and the upper gasket, and that's it. So this, I mean, I'm going to leave this as is right here. Boom. It's ready to go, and I'll put the entire bottom end back together, hopefully tonight. I'll record some of it, but it's kind of just reverse process, and I'll show you a little bit, maybe a little bit of time lapse, and then And then we got to fix the motorized bicycle because I took it for a ride, 20-mile trip, and it's starting to have some issues. So gotta do some maintenance on that too, but it's just coming together little by little. So I'll just do time lapse of throwing this all together, and we'll catch you then. Alright, so it is currently 10:30 at night, but the piston arrived. We have everything to throw this thing back together, so I gotta do it, I guess, to get this thing finished, and I still gotta fix the shifter. And then I'll call it a day, but lots of work to do. I will probably, I'll video it, and normally I won't do time-lapse, so I can show you some things that I learned along the way of installing stuff so that you do not have to tear your engine the whole way in half again because you dropped one of your little clips down there. So let's just dive in because let's get this done. All right, so the first tip that I can give you is whenever you're installing your piston, those explosive clips that never go on right, and then you drop and then they go into your bottom end, and then you spend another 2.5 hours tearing your engine apart again, especially since it's been resealed, and you never find it, and then you realize that you just dropped it outside of it, you put it all back together, and you do it again. Stuff a cloth down there. A cloth down here, and that'll prevent you from dropping it actually into your bottom end, and it'll hold your connecting rod, in a decent location. So, whenever I went shopping, I picked out this Wiseco, I believe it's 54mm, brand new. Of course, your arrow always goes towards your exhaust, an arrow notch, whatever. And you can also look at your intake here. Your intake, I don't know what these would be called even. It's replacing your valves, basically. And so this will sit on like that. And you need to grab your new wrist pin, your clips, and piston rings. I do also have a new head gasket inside because those are important. Pretty much every piston I think you buy comes with new wrist pin and clips, so that's not something that you necessarily have to specifically look out for, I don't believe. Also, I already threw the new spark plug in here, because the old one had chunks of the old piston stuck in it. But there's that, and then of course, you need these clips. These are very important, they're small, they're tiny, don't lose them. And I'm gonna grab gloves because putting a top end on two-stroke together, you want to get some two-stroke oil and everything to get it ready and lubed up so that you don't scrape stuff when you put it together. So let me grab that. Alright, so I actually couldn't find the two-stroke, or we're out of two-stroke oil rather. But I am still going to use some, bar and chain oil, which is not recommended, but I mean, don't do it pretty much is what that means. But I'm going to do it anyway, just because I need to get something on here. And I used up all our two-stroke oil. I guess you could just, get two-stroke mixed gas and just dump it on here. But just so we get something on here to kind of oil this all up. Because it's bad, you put it all together and it's dry. You don't need to necessarily worry about the top of it. That'll be fine. More so getting your edges and stuff. And then it's time to install rings. Now there is a order of which your rings go. Whoops. So if you're really uncertain, look it up. But of course, you can also just look at the order of your rings on your old piston if they are still intact, obviously. So let me get these rings out and I'll show you kind of. I believe, now, this is also coming from my knowledge of 4-strokes. I typically only work on 4-strokes. So I guess there is a chance that I could be wrong and it could not matter. But I know 4-strokes, you'll have, your upper ring will have like a ridge on it. Your top compression ring. And this, you don't have to worry about oil rings either. You only have compression rings. Alright, so you can see these are the same. One thing to note though, see how that N is on there? N or any letter will always be the top. So it'll be facing up. So that letter will be facing up for this. And to do that, just you know, take your time. You don't want to break a ring, especially a brand new one. Or drop your piston, which I just did. Jeez Louise. So, once you get it on your first, now this is the bottom ring, just bring that down, and just little by little, just work it back around. This is something where having patience is very, very important. Rushing small engine maneuvers like this can put you in some really bad situations. So just take your time, go slow, and check everything double, because the last thing you need is to either reorder new parts or redo all the work or anything like that. It's not fun. It's not worth it. So anyway, bottom ring is finally on. Time to get our top ring on. So this did not come with a new, I don't know what this is called. It's a bearing piece basically. It goes in here for the wrist pin to sit in. It didn't come with a new one of those, so I'm just going to reuse the old one. And of course, I'm going to dump some oil on it before I set it in. So, grab your piston, check that it is facing the right way. Grab that, and you just want to push it straight through. Don't you love it when you're putting something like this together and all you hear, bing, and you hear it land on the other side of the garage, and you never find it again, and you order a new set and find it a week later. It's the best, and it's most, if it's gonna happen, it's probably with these clips right here, because they are always flying. Piston out of the way. Now, you can see. Alright, I'm just gonna throw on gasket, put the cylinder over it, check to make sure my rings aren't gonna collide with each other and gap. Put all that back on, grab the new head gasket, put the entire top end on, fix the shifter, throw it on the bike, and we'll call it a night. Well, good morning, or whenever you're watching this time, everyone. So, last night, I was here till 12:42 in the morning. I put the rest of this pretty much all back together, and then I realized the gas tank was up in a different shed, so I got that today. We literally just have to bolt on this gas tank and see if it runs. So I'm anxious. Like I said, this thing was torn down. Every single bolt was torn out of it. So I'm excited to see if I actually did something right. That'd be nice, you know, not having to tear it all apart again. That'd save me a little bit of time. And I did fix the shifter because I put in a piece backwards right under this guard cap. And it kind of did this and didn't shift. So I fixed that finally, and we just got to throw in this tank, and then a lot of cleaning because, you know, we made a small, minuscule mess, just a little one. But let's get to it. I'm tired of talking. Let's ride this thing. All right, so it's all on here. Everything's bolted down, tightened. I put oil in it yesterday, and gas tank is over here. All right, one thing that I will say, your throttle cable, watch it. It will get caught and you will have a very bad day. Keep it above your gas tank. So above where your bolt goes in. So you put it underneath, it's gonna stretch it too far and you're gonna have wide open throttle just by turning to the right. Ask me how I know, please. And so I'll save you a little bit of time there. And make sure you route your throttle cable the right way and check it or whatever you need to do. Never mind. Oh, need an extension now, of course. You know what? We'll make that work. That was first try, by the way, in case you're wondering. So in case you're wondering what I mean by it, I can make that work. It's the wrong size, but grabbing the impact will completely ruin the threads and make kind of ish newer threads, and this bolt will never come off. I don't have to do this over and over again until I actually get smart enough to retap it and get a bolt that works. Perfect. Oh, gotta get some energy. Never had this before. Horrible. Great. That, my friends, is a dirt bike. I just gotta hook up that fuel line and see if this thing runs. Make sure that needle starts doing its job right. I'm gonna add a little bit more gas. Now, I do pre-mix it. I don't use an auto mixer. And this is also not kerosene. It's mixed gas. Great. That's the moment of truth. I haven't tried to start it at all yet. So this is going to be first attempt of being torn down to nothing. So there she goes. Yes. Well, it runs. Problem. I have 3rd, 4th, and 5th gear. Huh. But I have neutral. So, you know, we'll call it perfect. That's really the only issue. It's running way better than it ever has. It's really nice. Well, it runs. It actually runs great. I can't believe we only have 3, 4, 5, and that's it. I don't want to tear that engine out and split it in half again and do all that. So I'm gonna mess with that shifter, because the shifter itself, I think, might be the issue. It's not going, just keep clicking, not going down is what I'm thinking. But it's weird that neutral is still there. I think I can fix it without tearing it in half, but there's a chance I might have to. It's fine for now on road use. Road use, you can still get it going in 3rd and run it, but you just can't take it through yards. Tried to go up my yard. Didn't happen. But there it is. The resurrection of the Black Mamba. That's turning every other color now. But it's alive, it runs, and alright, so the fix that I actually ended up doing, so like I said, this is 9 months from now, was about a week after that was filmed. I fixed it. There was pins in, so there's a ring that a hook for your shift fork grabs, and on that ring there's pins in it, and one of those pins was missing. I found it. I was like, oh, this looks familiar. I put it back in, put it all together. 1 through 5 worked great. All the gears were working fine. Everything, it ran fine, it ran great, shifted great. So that was the issue there. And then I sanded it down, made it look real nice. I'll show you. It's really nice white. It's not perfect, but it looks a lot better than it did. Starting needs a new seat and everything. But that being said, it's a nice bike. I love that bike, and I ended up getting into a big wreck with it, so I haven't driven it that much this summer. But in the spring, I drove it a little bit, and I think sometime here we're going to have to resurrect it, bring it back again from sitting for so long. But anyway, that's it for resurrecting this bike. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. It was a fun one to do, and I'll catch all of you next Friday.